Hi everyone. So today we're going to talk about the importance of mental training in sport. So before we start, just think about these questions. Why is it that a badminton player can serve faultlessly throughout the match and then when there's a really crucial point, serves really faultily? What goes wrong? Why is it that a tennis player who's been winning is 2 sets up, loses the last set? Why is it that a basketball player misses a really important free throw, which he almost always converts during practice? If you think about it, an athlete can spend years developing and sculpting his body for the perfect physical performance. Yet, when it comes time to compete, something else needs to be prepared and trained for, which is the brain. So the brain is as vital or probably more necessary to be trained than any physical aspects that we talk about. So an athlete can have great physiology, the best maximum VO2 capacity. Everything else is perfect physically. Yet when it comes time to compete, something else is missing. What is it? It's basically your mental abilities. An athlete can't concentrate, doesn't listen to his coach, is not disciplined. In spite of having all the physical capabilities and abilities, all of this does not make him successful. That's what differentiates between a successful and an unsuccessful athlete. So it's almost as if people don't acknowledge that mental skills training, mental awareness, your self awareness, your mental capabilities, your ability to work with other people is as vital as anything else, sometimes even more vital. So, if mental skills training is not just a factor, but rather a hub for an athlete's performance. So, any decision you make is processed by what? Your brain. Um, Anything you do, everything you do, all comes from the brain. So it's important to remember that it is not just a piece of the puzzle, but a major, major piece of the puzzle that contributes to an athlete's performance and well being. You could actually think of players from any sport that did not have all the physical attributes that other players had, but still these players kept going. So, what kept them going is the mental side. So, these players are mentally tough, and that's what kept them going despite of not having the physical attributes that all the other athletes had. So sometimes elite athletes do use psychological skills in the performance, but what happens is it's often displaced on the wrong areas. So a psychological skills training program can help them refocus or restructure their mindset. So, for example, an athlete who concentrates really well might be focusing on the result. So, a mental skills training program will help him restructure it to being focused on the process instead. So, research has suggested that almost 50 to 90% of an athlete's performance and achievement is based on the psychological skills that they use and they have acquired. So, like any tactical or technical aspect of the sport, psychological skills need to be trained, they need to be developed, and they need to be practiced. So, every athlete has a very different way, a very different orientation, they have different experiences to sport, they have different psychological skills development. So, each program needs to be very individualized to the athlete and for the athlete's performance only. So I often come across a lot of myths about the use of psychological skills training in optimizing sport performance for athletes. So some of them are first one is that psychological skills training is only for elite athletes. Wrong. It can be used and is used for young and developing athletes. So it's not only for elite athletes. Second, that it is only for problem athletes. Very wrong again. So, psychological skills training is used for very normal athletes in optimizing and maximizing the performance, not just for problem athletes. Third one, that it provides quick fix solutions. So, like I mentioned earlier, psychological skills training requires a lot of practice. It needs to be developed and learned. It can't be just mastered in an overnight something. So, it needs to be uh, practiced and developed. Fourth one, that it is not useful. Like I mentioned in the whole video earlier, that it's finally your brain and your mental side that controls and decides and takes decisions for every action you take. So of course that's a wrong notion that people have. So these were just some of the myths that I often come across, and I wanted to share with you guys, telling you that these are not true. So I hope that through this video it was clear to you why mental skills training is so important and why we need to emphasize on it and not just the physical side. Yes, physical aspects are very important, but also the mental side, and sometimes even more important than the physical aspects. So I hope this video just cleared off some notions for you guys. Thank you.